I want to get into who's quickly become my favorite villain of city council, Jim Gardiner. This is a great I think it's an editorial from the Sun Times. Yeah, it's from the editorial board. This is the guy who's against the vaccine mandates. This is the guy who's terrorizing his constituents. And there's some good news after I read from this editorial of this guy who looks like he's a Harry Potter villain. Alderman Jim Gardiner should consider resigning. The number of accusations of misuse of his office are too numerous to ignore and too distracting to the city's business. Gardiner has admitted he's used words so offensive. Okay, I cop to maybe doing the same thing, but I'm never using it against other people except for people like him who regularly use them. Gardiner has admitted he's used words so offensive they should never be uttered even in private. In text messages, Gardiner allegedly referred to several people, including an alderman, as a B. In another text, he called a constituent a C. On September 14th, Gardiner apologized before the city council, though his mechanical reading from the prepared statement didn't satisfy anybody. He got caught. He's not sorry. He just got caught. He had to save face. Gardiner is the apparent subject of a Chicago Board of Ethics inquiry made public last week into whether he discussed withholding city services from a political opponent and urged a former staff member to leak a political opponent's criminal record. The ethics board said it found probable cause that an unnamed public official had done so. Cook County Circuit Court Clerk Iris Martinez's office also announced this month that Martinez wants the office's inspector general to investigate whether an employee in her office released information about the past criminal court case of Gardiner's political opponent. Think about this. He's an elected official, and he's digging into private files to use against his adversaries. This is just like, it's like gangster stuff. Gardiner allegedly tried to use taxpayer funds to pay an employee for work the employee did on Gardiner's 2020 campaign for ward committee person, according to a WBEZ report. Instead of using campaign funds to pay for the political work, Gardiner allegedly sought to boost the employee's city salary by $10,000. Mayor Lori Lightfoot has called on Chicago Inspector General Joseph Ferguson to probe whether Gardiner has used his office to retaliate against his political opponents. Northwest Side Alderman Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez is asking colleagues to join her in calling for the council's Rules Committee to consider censuring Gardiner for his reported retaliation against constituents and his derogatory language, because that language took place away from the council floor. However, it might be outside the scope of censure. A construction worker has sued Alderman Gardiner and the city, claiming a wrongful arrest and harassment that threw his life into turmoil after he picked up a lost cell phone, which he planned to return, that belonged to a Gardiner staffer. The worker was accused of stealing the phone and jailed, and police were sent to his home, where the worker's roommate allegedly was threatened. Gardiner and his ward superintendent also allegedly went to the apartment. So Gardiner makes house calls. Gardiner and a political ally claim Gardiner's predecessor. I'm like reading a laundry list of what this guy does, and he still has the audacity to serve in city, not step down in shame and ridicule, to be shamed for the rest of his life. But this guy thinks it's okay. He made a public apology. It's okay. Gardiner and a political ally claimed Gardiner's predecessor, John Arena, engaged in political activity and made a rude gesture at a community meeting, which led to Arena being forced out of his job in the city's planning department. Through a city spokesperson, Arena denied the charges at the time. In retrospect, given the information coming out recently, Gardiner's claims should have been forcefully challenged. Blah, 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 blah. This is a long editorial board article. So perhaps some light at the end of the tunnel, because embattled Alderman Jim Gardiner, first challenger, has announced her plan to run, even though election is a year away. That's okay. I hope she gets a really good head start if this jagoff doesn't get charged and indicted and arrested and thrown away before then. So let's talk about Jim Gardiner's challenger. Candidate Megan Mathias's campaign announcement drew a crowd of more than 100 people. Attendees said they want a leader who will build common ground in this politically divided ward. This comes from Ariel Perella Orelli at Block Club Chicago. And here is the candidate, Megan Mathias. Although the next aldermanic election is more than a year away, a resident is already looking to unseat embattled Alderman Jim Gardiner. Megan Mathias, an Old Irving Park resident, officially announced her campaign for 45th Ward alderperson Tuesday at her kickoff party at Galvin's Public House, 5901 West Lawrence Avenue. I've been preparing for a year, right after Gardiner was elected. I guess people already had a pretty good sense this guy was a piece of shit, so they started planning early. Right after Gardiner was elected, people started asking me if I would run, so part of it is answering the call, Mathias said. I think the need in my ward is to be heard. What I bring is the ability to have broad support, advocate for, and listen to voices, even if they don't agree with me. But I want to be able to listen and incorporate community voices into what I'm doing. Mathias said she knows it's early to launch a campaign, and ward redistricting is not yet final, but she wants to connect with residents. She said her campaign has raised $50,000. Good on her. Mathias has lived in the ward since 2014, but has called Chicago home since 2000. Originally from Michigan, the single mother of three owns her own law firm in Old Irving Park called Lopp Mathias Law. The ward, home to large numbers of police officers and firefighters, has traditionally been more conservative, but in recent years, its progressive population has boomed, with more residents advocating for policies like increased affordable housing. That's created political divisions that make it difficult to determine who will win in local races. Gardiner, a former substitute teacher and member of the fire department, was elected in 2019, beating out incumbent John Arena, who, like Mathias, favored more progressive policies. Had faced pushback from some residents for his moves, like supporting affordable housing developments, which is sad. But Gardiner has become embroiled in scandals after leaked texts showed he tried to get revenge on residents who criticized him, called a constituent a C word, and tried to deny her city services, and called a fellow alderman and city hall staffer a B word, among other things. He's reportedly being investigated by the FBI. Mayor Lori Lightfoot said he should be investigated by the city watchdog and the city's board of ethics, and has said his actions should be investigated by the inspector general. Now, as I understand it, I think the feds are also looking into Alderman Gardiner, but I'm going to little toast to Megan Mathias. Godspeed on replacing this monster that is currently running the 45th Ward. I wish her luck. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see how that all turns out.